I think that this is where I see a lot of enterprises getting stuck. It's very easy for us to all on screen say we want to do the right thing. We don't want to hurt people. We want AI for good. And then in my lived experience, what happens is organizations fall short by just talking about it and then not following through with the right actions or the right credentials. So a couple of things that I've been following and we've been doing it further is investing in actual credentialing individuals across various different disciplines in AI governance. So we don't treat it as something that we expect to happen by just saying, hey, we're going to do the right thing. We're actually equipping folks to deeply understand how do AI systems fail? What do actual harms look like? How do you navigate some of the moral ambiguity of understanding that sometimes there's no right answer? And we need to figure out how we want to bridge the gap between what are the harms we want to prevent as an organization. Let's say you're using AI for hiring, and how you actually want to put the right safeguards around it. And so IAPP, for example, and the International Association of Privacy Professionals, last year, they launched their AI governance professional credential. And that's something that we equipped our team with, and we're encouraging our clients to do as well. And so you're not just talking about doing the right thing, you're giving people the skills, tools, and credentials that allow them to do that.
Chris, you worked with large corporations, especially across the transformation projects, right? Significant work there. Help us understand the practical side of things, right? Like, how do we translate this into an ROI-based activity, right? Like, a lot of times this culture is in the policy documents, but it doesn't translate into the reality, right? Like, give us your thoughts there.
I spent 7 months in more or less a fellowship at the Institute for Real Growth with the top 100 CMOs in the world, like large corporations. And one of the things they talk about humanized growth there, which is this different approach where you're looking at long-term stakeholder value versus short-term shareholder gain. In a similar approach, what I learned a lot from these large corporations is that these decisions with AI are a cultural choice before they're a compliance choice. And, policies like AI policies specifically rarely fail because they're wrong, right? They fail because they're not operational, right? You can't actually do something. They're not modeling the actual habits they want replicated in the company. Instead, they're just looking at, well, here's a list of things that we can do, but there's a difference between doing things and getting stuff done. So when we start looking at this from the very beginning as what is the ethos of this company? What are our actual habits that we want to replicate? It's something where responsible AI needs to be built into the workflow from the beginning, not added at the end. And it's okay to disrupt some systems to do it right. It's much stronger in that way. And when it comes down to all outcomes that are coming, short feedback loops, get actual feedback from humans, right? And that's the exact thing here. It's not just looking at spreadsheets, not looking at ROI, actually getting verbal feedback from real humans is going to be one of the strongest things that companies that want to be successful using AI in their corporations will have in front of them.
Awesome. Joe, your thoughts here. You worked with large companies, and if you could share some metrics or if you could share your practical experiences here, I think that'll be awesome.
Well, so there's two things that my co-panelists mentioned that I want to chat on. One is involving people. Cal said that. The other thing is Chris mentioned humanizing growth. At least for the past maybe 2 years, everybody is focusing on use cases. How can I maximize my ROI quickly, and like modeling use cases that have already been published with those metrics and expecting that one size fits all? That's the wrong approach. And I'll flip it on its head. Instead of people fearing that their jobs are going to be replaced, Toyota flipped it on its head and empowered the manufacturing floor in 2022 to empower their people that were on the floor in the factories, and provided them an AI platform and helped their frontline teams create models that were estimated to save up to 10,000 hours of work annually, with nearly 1,200 active users across 10 factories. So not only did they say, okay, we understand and we empathize that a factory job is a difficult job, we're going to put the power and empower the frontline workers to actually use AI to improve their jobs, which in turn improve their efficiency.
Let me double click on this one and help me understand. So when Toyota has done this thing, right? Like, there will be like a lot of cross-functional activities, different functions, different organizations having multiple priorities. But how do we get the alignment between these cross-functional organizations, and how can we enable responsible AI across the enterprise?
That's a great question. I think that starts with policy, right? So you have to actually understand that ROI is not an implementation of a use case. ROI is actually tapping the people with the organizational knowledge to say, let me explain my pain point, and then let's work backwards to see how we can satisfy those pain points. When you actually crowdsource the AI that's specific to your company, pain is local. Pain sometimes is pain is personal. So the more granular you get, the better you can see the outcomes and the ROI in the long run, and actually the higher chance of success, because you're involving people by policy.
I guess I'd like to take a little bit more of a pragmatic view. What we see out there that doesn't work is, hey, we have this global AI policy, or we're gonna have all these larger focus, or we'll talk. Let me talk about what I do see that works. So first of all, I'm gonna make the argument that a lot of the issues that AI brings up are not new. The technology may not be new, but what we recommend our clients doing is, first of all, let's get away from the general. Let's talk about the specific. Let's talk about the specific use cases that we want to use AI and how we want to use it. The next thing we want to ask is, let's go back to some of our existing policy. Are we using it ethically? Do we have an ethics policy? Are we following our ethics policy? Do we need to update our ethics policy? How are we managing data provenance, and how are we managing personal information? Well, we have a privacy policy. How does this proposed use case with generative AI impact the privacy of our customers, of our partners, of our employees? The third part of it is, okay, what's going to be the impact of this? What's going to be the productivity? Let's be transparent about this. Let's go out there. What information are we going to pull into there? Well, actually, this goes back to basic records retention out there. How do we make sure that we pull in the right information to be able to do this? So, I mean, there is a place for an AI policy, but generally, these are compliance issues that are almost as old as the hills. We just have to, probably burnish our existing compliance policies, our strategies, to make sure that we're doing the right thing. And then probably most important, let's get together. I think one of the biggest mistakes organizations make is the technology group is working on this, this use case with generative AI. They're not socializing in the rest of the organization. No, actually, this impacts everybody. So how do we live our policies? Well, let's get the right stakeholders involved in early: legal, privacy, information security, records management, the business units. Get everybody. This is specifically talking about how we're doing it. Let's make sure that, hey, this comports with our policy, and if our policies are out of date, let's update those. And then let's just monitor for safety and accuracy, which we've been doing with technology for years. And so, to some extent, making AI this completely new, different thing, I think, is a mistake. Many organizations already have these capabilities. We just got to refresh them for generative AI.
I would love to double click on this one, especially with Marlos. Marlos, I know enterprise world is slightly different from the government world. When you work with both governments and enterprise corporates and corporate enterprises, right? So where do you see the difference, and how often you go back to these documents? And in terms of the agility, if you could comment, I think that'll be awesome.
Well, in the Netherlands, I truly believe that we need a new leadership. In the Netherlands, we had a lot of discussion this week and previous week, because some guys from Silicon Valley, they were born and raised there, working for Google, Uber, and so on. And they presented their AI plan for the Netherlands. And there was a lot of researchers, but also societal organizations. They said, no, you are raised with this mindset. Probably you are very well skilled in building AI tools, but we don't want to place this in your hands. So that was fascinating. And then you saw more grassroots communities working together, sharing ideas. They became quite activistic, So something is going on. Something else what we see in Europe, but also in the Netherlands, is of course the discussion about digital sovereignty. But it also brings the discussion how do we want our world? How do we want to build it? And that's really changing. But I see a lot of well-educated people stepping up, and we want to build our future in a different way, and that's very fascinating what's going on there.